In 3, 2, Fitness Business Podcast family, put your hands together for the founder of Body Fit Training, Cam Falloon. Cam, thank you so much for coming on to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thanks, Dori. Great to be here.
And we can already tell by that cute little accent where you're from. Australia is your homeland, correct?
Yes, Melbourne, Australia, in the southeast corner of Melbourne, and we're currently enjoying our summer.
Yes, very nice. Good for you guys. So you are the founder of Body Fit Training. You also call it BFT. So for all of our listeners out there, if they hear BFT, Body Fit Training, and right now you currently have 250 open locations.
That's correct. Yeah, we're operating in 6 countries. We've sold over 550 globally, and we're looking forward to a really big 2023 of studio openings around the world. So it's a really exciting time in our growth.
And also on your resume, I see that you were the strength and conditioning coach for various international soccer teams and AFL teams.
Yeah, that's correct. I think, that's what Body Fit Training is built off, is a methodology that was afforded to, or is afforded to, elite athletes, and trying to use that exercise prescription methodology and the scientific principles behind that, and just making it accessible for the everyday weekend warrior. So that's 15 years of experience working with athletes built into BFT.
Well, BFT is certainly up and running. You mentioned that there's one actually near me, so I'm going to have to take a little drive down south and go check it out, as I have not been there yet, but I promise I'll get down there and check it out. But what's unique about Body Fit Training is you really focus on community. And I'd like to know why, when you kind of focused on that when putting your business model together, why you felt it was so important to build community within your fitness business.
Yeah, I think, again, much like team sports, where I've spent most of my time working with athletes, it's a community. You can be a coach or a player that comes from another state or country, and once you walk in the doors of that organization, you're instantly a part of a family, and there's relationships and bonds that are built for life, and connections that are made, and it's really powerful. And when I was doing research coming out of elite sport and looking at the commercial space, there's a lot of issues with our industry. There's so many people doing great things, but we're also failing at so many things. And one of them is engagement and keeping people come back. And I think it's around messaging that we, as an industry broadly, there's just constantly messages around extreme weight loss and, take this powder or this pill. A lot of people aren't motivated to exercise. Those that are actually the minority. So what are we doing to make it fun for people? What are we doing to make them want to come back? And if we can do those things outside of the exercise, if we can make a community, make human connections, make it fun for them, and they do keep coming back, then that's when the exercise can really have its benefits. Because as we know, exercise is something that's, weight loss or building muscle, it takes time, and it's a journey, and it should be a lifelong journey, much like the development of an athlete. So making those human connections is really, really important in building community to get people coming back. And we're really proud that at BFT, we've got over 50,000 members, and they average 4.7 visitations a week across the 50,000 members. So we're constantly striving to keep building on that. We love them, 5 times a week is amazing. And if we're doing that, we're going a long way to solving part of the problem in the industry.
Wow, quite impressive on those stats here with your number of visits per person. Very nice. In order to have fitness business success, in your opinion, is community more important for driving referral sales or retention, or would you say it's equal?
Look, I think it's equally important, and I'm not sure you really focus the lens on either one of those too narrowly, because it's important to both. I think in the early stages of your business, it's obviously really important for sales, because people can feel that when they come into a new business. If you're just launching a studio, they can feel if there's a really good community and a good energy in the space, so that helps to sell. But obviously ongoing, if people are feeling attached to the place, they've got relationships and connections, your biggest source of membership once you're an established business is going to come from referrals. And so if you can keep people for longer, then that will lead to more referrals. So it becomes, you're decreasing your cost per acquisition in your business. So that's an efficiency that you can create. You're also retaining your members for longer. So you're your lifetime value of that membership is going to go up. So there's multiple benefits to doing it. And the beauty of it is, Dori, is that it's really simple. It's it's getting to know your members. It's giving them love. It's actually coaching them when they're in a session. This is not, to be honest, this is not earth shattering and rocket science. It's going back to athletes, that what they do is they do the basics, and they do the basics consistently really, really well. And I think as an industry, if we can get back to that, that's going to go a long way to building retention, increasing your sales, and having great businesses across the board.
You mentioned earlier that you said average member about 4.5 visits per week. How are you doing that? How are you keeping your members engaged?
Yeah, we do it through multiple means. So as a franchisor, I guess our responsibility is to educate our franchisees and their staff, their trainers and managers, and give them the tools to be successful. But we do it through human interaction and connections, as well as technology. So we've built our own heart rate system called BFT Cubed, where it's a world first, where each of our unique 13 programs gets rewarded differently based on the outcome of that session. So in most studios, as an example, heart rate gamification rewards, the harder you train, the more you get rewarded. But if you're not a fit member, or you're deconditioned, or you're overweight, you have an injury, then that's very demotivating. Also, in a strength training session where you are lifting heavy weights, but you might only be doing 3 repetitions, your heart rate won't elevate very high because you're not under tension for long enough. So you don't get rewarded for that. So I was looking at it saying, well, there's lots of great systems out there, but why aren't we building a system and utilizing technology to reward all types of training? Strength training, high intensity, low intensity. So we went and built our own system. So that's a very big part of our engagement. And then it's the real basics, as I said. It's knowing the member's name. It's knowing their key milestones in their life, whether it's a birthday or it's an anniversary, or they're getting married, or they've had a birth of a child. It's knowing what they do for work. It's being able to recognize when they walk in the front door based on their mood and how they're talking and their expressions. Is today a day that I can push Dori because I can see that she's up and about and she's energetic? Or is today a day I need to actually pick her up, and just make her feel special today, and just get her through the session because she's walked in the door, and that's probably, for her mood today, that's probably a great achievement. So we're in the people business, and I think that gets lost in all the sales and marketing and everything else. We are in the people business in this industry. So get to know your people really, really well, love them. And if you can do that, honestly, most of what we do actually isn't about the training. So engage your members, get to know them, love them. And then if they're coming back, absolutely give them the best on the floor and coach them. And we have goals with our studios where we might say, okay, we want every trainer to have 4 interactions with every member. So if you think about that, you're one member, there's 3 trainers on the floor. Theoretically, you should have 12 touch points in a 50-minute class at BFT. And if we're doing that, then you're getting and feeling a lot of love and attention. And that could just be, fantastic, Dori, you're moving really well, keep going. It doesn't have to be, we're not overcoaching people. We're not trying to tell them what they're doing wrong all the time, which is a bit of a symptom in our industry. Change your technique, you're doing this wrong. It could just be, you're moving fantastic today, keep going. Looking good. Yeah, great to see you've upped your weight today, or whatever it might be. Set a goal to have a number of positive interactions with every member, every session as a KPI in your business.
I like that you're mindful about how the touch point needs to be, because, you have the introvert, the classic introvert in the class. Their worst fear is that you're really calling them out or calling on them, even if you as the instructor think you're trying to be a cheerleader for them. For them, that's very embarrassing. So I like the fact that you're like, hey, we don't always need to be right in their face. We can just be like, hey, doing a great job today, Dori, and moving on. I like that.
And that's knowing your members and their personalities. And again, it goes, it's a bit easier in working with team athletes in elite sport because you psychologically profile people. We would learn as coaches our own personalities and how we convey information and communicate, so that we could adjust that based on personality types. You don't necessarily have that available for several hundred members, but if you take an interest in your members and get to know their triggers, you can do it. It takes time and it is a skill, but that's the level of, I think, personalization or hyper personalization I think we need in gyms and in studios and PT studios and so on to really engage our members and connect with them.
Yeah. I liked how you said earlier that we are in the people business. Sometimes I feel like there's always this push and pull back and forth between people business and the service industry business. So I appreciate that you're like, hey, we're in the people business. And then secondary, you've got the service industry. When we talk about the people business, let's talk about fitness challenges and social activities that play in building a community. What can you tell us about BFT and how you work the fitness challenges and the social activities?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we constantly take member feedback as well as franchisee feedback to, I guess, to stay really close to it and understand how our members are feeling about what we're doing and then taking on board changes that we can make going forward based on their feedback. We do two distinct types of challenges, I guess. We do an 8-week challenge, which is around body composition, but primarily it's around maintaining lean muscle mass but losing body fat. So it's not a weight loss. It's distinct from a weight loss course. So you don't have to lose weight, but we want you to maintain your muscle mass and lose body fat. And then we do a strength training challenge called the benchmark challenge. So we find them really complementary and empowering, and they both have different ways of engaging with members. But what we're giving members is an opportunity to engage in one of either of those, whichever you feel best suits you, or how you want what goals you want to achieve, or you can do both. We find the strength training is extremely empowering to people because we focus on 3 lifts. The cycle of our training, our 8-week program, will be designed to everything in that program is designed to them to be able to get results in those 3 lifts. And then we have a testing day, so we get everyone together and people are helping each other and motivating each other and seeing each other lift and achieve, personal bests and goals. And that in itself is really, really empowering. It's empowering for the members, those that are achieving things. It's empowering for the people who are supporting and cheering and clapping. So that's a fantastic tool, and it's tangible because it's objective measures. It's you're lifting heavier weight, or you're doing more repetitions on a certain weight, or if it's body composition, it's an objective measure with you've reduced visceral fat. So you might not have lost much body fat, you may not have lost weight, but you may have lost visceral fat, so fat around your organs, which is extremely beneficial. So we try and focus on really positive outcomes for people's lifestyle versus extreme outcomes like just losing 10 kilos in 8 weeks, because I actually philosophically don't think that's healthy. And if we can educate the members around that and empower them with a little bit of knowledge that they become a little bit more self-sufficient in their own training or their lifestyle management through diet or hydration or other things, we find that a brilliant way to engage people, open up conversations. And then along with each of those challenges, there's always a come on a Sunday and we'll go and hike up a mountain, or we'll go and swim at a lake or something like that. So it's building in those out of studio activities where you're having different types of conversations. It's not about the training, or it's not about the nutrition, or it's not about a heart rate. It's just we're going for a walk today up a mountain and we're just going to talk about life and enjoy the outdoors. And those things are really, really beneficial, and we really encourage those as part of our challenges, and both the 8-week challenge and the benchmark challenge.
I feel that there are some clubs since COVID that have truly, truly capitalized on the social activities aspect of creating community in their club. I feel like after COVID, I don't want to say I mean in myself, but as business owners, gym owners, they had to sometimes teach people how to be social again. And the gym, for many people, it's a safe place for them. So creating these social activities, I think there's just a no-brainer about retention, keep helping your retention. So I like the fact that you said, hey, we're doing fitness, but not necessarily fitness social activities. You're getting outside of the club and doing a hike, or if you're kayaking, things like that. I really like that. I think that's a great idea.
And I think it's important to be mindful of, we talked about the introvert member, or the member who's maybe just built up the courage to step foot into a studio, but still isn't embedded in that community, that maybe kind of like, I don't know whether fitness is for me or this environment's for me, is to make sure that as a manager or a trainer or someone that if you're doing these activities, that you're engaging everyone and you're understanding where they are on their journey. So it might be, Cam's only been a member for 2 weeks and we know he's a bit of an introvert. Call Cam, because he's not going to respond to the SMS message or the WhatsApp message or the Facebook message because that's not his personality. So call him and say, hey, you've been here for 2 weeks, been fantastic. You're doing really well. We'd love for you to come this weekend. I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now. Now, you can't do that for everyone, but again, it just goes back to know your members and really make an effort to engage in them because it'll pay you back in spades.
Yeah, I like how you keep emphasizing know your members. I like that. All right, let's kind of flip the coin here and let's talk about the tech side of things. Can you build a community through tech, and why or why not?
I will say you can, but not tech exclusively. I keep going back to we're in the people business, and you touched on post COVID just the need for humans to connect. So it's a fantastic engagement tool. Utilizing good technology. As I said, we've built our own system. We built a system to do a couple of things. One is to help coaches to have connections and to open up conversations with members around their training. Two, it's to help the members to get rewarded. So for every style of training, but also if they're missing a target, to open up a conversation on what are the opportunities to maximize their time in the studio to get that result. So often the figures that we get through tech and through gamification are just an arbitrary number, but it doesn't actually go back to a performance goal or improving. It's just a number. So we try and always go back to, is the member improving? How are we personalizing that? So for me, it's a combination of utilizing technology, but then giving the humans the tools to effectively utilize that. And an example I'll give you is I had a Garmin watch and heart rate monitor, and I know a lot of people use that, or they use Aura rings and so on and so forth. And I talked about I did a lot of mountain biking and road cycling, and I was during a phase where I was doing 400 or 500 kilometers a week on the bike, and it kept saying to me, Cameron, you're cooked, basically. You need to recover. But I'm looking at my training loads and I know my body, and technology is getting better, but it's an arbitrary figure. I kept training through that. So I said, you need to rest for 24 hours. Then it was 36 hours, and it was 48 hours, and it was 72 hours I needed to rest. And I kept training and I was fine. My resting heart rate was fine. So what is it and how are we utilizing the technology? So is the technology you're using validated? Has it been thoroughly tested? Is it personable? And then how much data and what data are you giving to the end user for it to be meaningful? Because there's lots of information out there. How do we use it? How are we getting educated on how to use it? How are we actually using that information to make changes in our lifestyle or dietary habits or exercise and training habits? And so it's a combination of both. I think technology's got a huge place, and I think in the next 5 to 10 years, it's really, really going to ramp up in the industry. At the moment, though, it's still a little bit crude, so to speak, and there's a little bit of work to be done. And so I'll just say to people, use tech, don't lose the human element, but also validate your technology and don't overload your members with it. Give them basic, simple, meaningful information.
I love that you just said that, because I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, my goodness, it's like as a business owner, especially of a smaller business model, you have to make it a people business. You have to make it a service business. And then you also need to, satisfy the folks that are number and data driven, and they want that tech piece as well. But like you said, you want the tech piece, but you don't want to lose the people and human interaction of the relationship as well. So it's not easy. It's definitely tough, and it's something that you got to find the right balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to find the right balance, and that goes into hiring staff, finding the right staff with the right skill sets to take on different roles in your business as well, because you can't do everything.
Geez, Cam, we just had a podcast on that, on finding the perfect staff. So if you missed that episode, you got to go back and listen to that one, and Cam's as well. They'll go hand in hand. Well, listen, Cam, our time is just about up, but you have a really cool fun fact that I just want to put out there, because I was like, but at one point you trained Princess Diana.
Yeah, that's correct. Back in 1996 and 1997.
Wow. Okay. And can you tell like how that happened and how you got that connection, or did you have to sign some type of, you
No,
know?
I didn't have to sign anything. No, I worked in a gym in London. I was asked when I first started there just as a gym instructor, and I just got going with PT. I was probably 3 months in. The owner came to me and said, "Look, we'd like you to bring one of your clients in before opening hours of the gym. Her Royal Highness Princess Diana trains here with her trainer, who she'd had for about 7 years." And so for nearly 12 months, I was in the gym 2 to 3 times a week with one of my clients and Princess Diana and her trainer. So we got to know each other quite well. There's 4 people in a gym and 3 times a week for an hour. So we knew each other well. And then she had a parting of ways with her trainer and went to the owner of the gym, Ian, and then said, "Can you give me a list of the 5 best trainers in London?" And he happened to put my name on the list. So right place, right time. And I think it was sort of an easy decision given that we had that rapport and that relationship.
Wow, perfect timing with the new Harry book coming out, the tell-all Harry book. So very nice. All right. Well, Kim, thank you so much. That's a good fun fact. I like that. Thanks for coming on the Fitness Business Podcast. I really appreciate your time and definitely your expertise. So everybody check out Body Fit Training. Like I said, he has 250 locations now, but it is expanding to 560 locations globally.
Thanks, Dori. Appreciate your time.